Ndiyabulisa kuni bamameli nanabukeli emakhaya. Welcome to Unmasking African Truths. I am your host, Upalisa. Our inserts are always aimed to assist you mameli nawumbukeli emakhaya to have a better understanding of your African indigenous spirituality. As always, andambi ndedwa, namba nayo imbono Dr. Uzulezwe Radebe, a spiritual guider, the leader and founder of the Revelation Spiritual Home. Imboni is also a qualified theologian and a qualified herbalist. Imboni is always here to assist us, Tina, abantu aba-researchayo, to put researches into a African indigenous context. As we all know, we have scholars who have tackled the issues, or rather, practices zethu zakwantu, but at times they have failed ukubeka izinto zethu ngendlela right, and in times they have used terminologies ezirongo ukubhala ngezinto zethu zakwantu. Yingakho we always have imboni ozasincedisa ukulungisa such matters. In the past, we discussed cleansing in the African indigenous context, following discussion sabanayo nayo imboni yokutheni ukuthi abantu abamnyama are cursed due to the fact that thina as an African people we ignored indlela zethu zakwantu and we insulted imboni zazithunyiwe ukusilungisa thina as an African indigenous people. Namhlanje sidiscussa a topic ethi who is eligible to facilitate the cleansing process for the African indigenous people and why. There have been many instances where we have experienced gruesome incidences such as floods that have claimed impilo zabantu. We have experienced illnesses. I think a classic example would be COVID-19 that were unexplainable and were incurable. And then we had the African indigenous spiritualists and other traditionalists who are spiritually inclined. Abayibona lento ukuthi no ezizahlakalo ezenzakalayo in Africa were due to the fact that thina as an African people, we are a cursed people. And then we saw religious people abangenayo who were praying and condemning these incidences. But even though they had prayed, we have not seen a change. We still continue to see teeth-shattering incidences and jaw-dropping incidences in our societies. Before ndidlulisela kuyo imbono zasincedisa ukuyiphendula lo mbuzo wethu, I have with me a study that was conducted at the University of Tanzania in Nigeria for the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies, titled Priests and Intermediaries in African Thought. Study city history has it that at one time or the other, the human person sought for a connector between him and his fellow man, between him or his community and the world of the spirits. This is what gave rise to what we have today as priests. The priest stands between his people and the diviner. Arends observes that the priest is responsible for the act of worship offered in the names of a community or part of it. It is the priest that carries the offering of the people to God. In this way, the priest serves as an intermediary between the people and the supernatural world, the gods, divinities, ancestors, etc. The priest is a connector and mediator, an intermediary. This is why Besden holds that the priest is the accredited agent of the spirits and acts in conformance with their commands. The implication of Beden's view is that the priest is an agent of two worlds, the material and the immaterial world. From the above study, Mameli, we see that a normal person like myself who has no extraordinary spiritual gifts must always seek umntu who is spiritually inclined, a person who is omniscient, umntu who has a spiritual understanding of umhlaba as a whole, a person umntu who has immaculate spiritual insight. Ingako we have here imbono ozasincedisa with these spiritual discussions. Ndlulisela ke kuwe tata.
Masibonge sibingelele kini nonke nisilaleli namhlanje. Knowledge is power. Makuthiwa knowledge akukhulunywa only about academic knowledge. Knowledges are all sorts of forms. Lana ke sidiscussa spiritual knowledge. That is the most important knowledge emhlabeni. Yikho sometimes abanye abantu ba highly educated academically, yet lives zabo ne choices zabo ziyasikhomba ukuthi spiritually they have no knowledge. So I think it's important to say I agree in a study basibambile, and it's important to educate the public ukuthi isikhathi esiningi scholars mabebhala especially on African spiritual matters they will use basayuza amanye amagama like priest, etc., because of, again, it's overseas scholars who did not really understand ukuthi i-terms zethu zithini, but siya understand abathini. For the sake of igama elithi priest, what does it mean? Priest is an overseer. Kodwa singathatha ukuthi that priest they mean Western religious denominations. Sikubona kuphi? Mawufunda uyabona ukuthi abakhulumi nge-Western denominations, because Western denominations siyazazi, they don't do those things. And then i-cleansing, okokuqala ngicabanga ukuthi is lezi zinto lezi, it's always starting from the foundation so that we may understand. So it's a difficult uba black and white and say yenzwa nje i-cleansing ngayenzwa nje. Asizame ke ukubuyela emuva kancane la so that umlaleli nombukeli akwazi ukunderstanda i-cleansing, which is inhlambuluko. Ngobani ekumele bayenze. Asiqale sithi okokuqala inhlambuluko differs. Ukhuluma inhlambuluko yesizwe sonke, ukhuluma inhlambuluko of an individual. Individual means umuntu or ifamily yakhe, etc. Ziyehluka lapho. Second of all, uphinde sikuhlukanisa i-cleansing. Cleansing, abantu abawu-2 abavamise ukwenza inhlambuluko. One, it has to be from the spiritual sector. I think lapho angibe clear. Religious sector can't do inhlambuluko. Abakwazi ukwenza inhlambuluko. Ngoba inhlambuluko yinto espiritual. Because of uma sikhuluma inhlambuluko, asikhulumi lana ngokugeza lelibhodlela elingcolile, where you can physically see ona kokungcono usuthatha insipho uyigeza lento sithi ukusukile manje ukungcono. Inhlambuluko or i-cleansing, it's a spiritual issue. Sigeza into ongayiboni ngamehlo enyama. Now, because religious people and irreligious itself, it's the traditions about spirituality and the thoughts of men about matters of spirituality. Ngicela nje sibe clear, hayi kabi. I-religion is not a spiritual issue, it's the traditions and the thoughts of men about spiritual matters. Therefore, i-religion eqinisweni ngoba vele yaqanjwa umuntu ayikwazi ukusilekelela kinto espiritual. It must deal with religious traditional ceremonies, not into spiritual. And I think of course omunye uzonglalela athi ayikho lonto ngoba ini. Maybe we have to have a discussion about that ngenyelanga to define the issues of spirituality and religion. Anyway, kumele yenze umuntu spiritual ngoba umuntu spiritual okhonayo ukukutshela ukuthi manje lana kungcolile la. And kumele kwenziwe inhlambuluko. Example masikhuluma ngeyesizwe. Kumuntu oboniswayo kumele asho ukuthi kunenkinga esizweni. Kumele senze inhlambuluko. A religious person can't, and that's why you would also umlaleli would see throughout. Abantu aba religious really cannot tell us ukuthi kunenkinga kuphi konakele kuphi. And when many religious people, inverted commas, claim that konakele kungcolile, benzani? Bayathandaza. Bathi bona kuyothandaza ukuthi kususwe amadimoni. Uyayibona ukuthi now when you talk about inhlambuluko noma kungcolile, it's really beyond the religious aspect and view of demons. It's dealing ngezinye izinto la than just that religious aspect. And umkhuleko akasusi lutho umkhuleko. Umkhuleko iplea oyenzayo phezu kwento ethize. So umkhuleko uthi uyakhuleka uyalungisa kuphela. Ayikho lonto le in cleansing. Has to be spiritual people. Now if siya indigenous African indigenous spirituality, inkolo yakwantu thina as African people, masikhuluma ngabantu abadila nento zomoya, sikhuluma ngabantu sibahlukanisa kabili. Sibahlukanisa ngabantu bedlozi nabantu besithunzi. Now umuntu is both idlozi nesithunzi are spiritual beings, but idlozi is a symbolic of a human. Idlozi is a symbolic yomuntu. Isithunywa is not a symbolic yomuntu. Is a symbolic yomdali, the spiritual being. So they are both spirits, moya bobabili, but bobabili bamele into ethile and basymbolize into ethize. So uma sikhuluma ke ngenhlambuluko, inhlambuluko ngizaziclassifya ngithi kunenhlambuluko eqhamuka edlozini, kube nenhlambuluko eqhamuka esithunyweni. zozibili lenhlambuluko zikhona. We must also be clear. There's hierarchy in spirituality. There's no confusion in spirituality. Aseka abantu la emhlabeni wonke umuntu ufuna uba iboss. Eyona nhlambuluko enkulu eyesithunzi. Indlula ngisho nedlozi. Ngoba ngisho nalo idlozi ngoba liyisimboli yomuntu. Kukhona lapha idlozi elihamba, ngikhuluma ngespirit being now. Khona lapha idlozi nalo elihamba lidinga ukuthi nalo lihlanjululwe. Yisithunzi. It's very important to know that. Now, uma ke inhlambuluko ephuma edlozini. Of course, izoyenziwa ngabantu ekuthiwa mhlamba izangoma balanda into edlozi. Esithunzi izoyenziwa abantu abakuthiwa yimboni noma abantu abanye ekuthiwa isikhathi esiningi abathandazi. So really I think I've answered there who does what. La edlozini inhlambuluko zakhona kungenzeka ukuthi ngishiye ukuthize engikucabangayo kodwa nje zidume kakhulu. Kuyenza inhlambuluko ngegazi. Thathwa igazi. It has nothing to do with satanic rituals, satanic things, I'm a demon, devil, 666. No. It has nothing to do with that. Because abantu bathanda makuthiwa kunegazi kubuye kube kuyinkinga, which is strange. Ngoba noJesu uthiwa igazi lakhe laphalaka. But bathi elakhe ngelona eliphezulu kwamanye amagazi. But anyway, it has nothing to do. It's a proper thing. Inhlambuluko yegazi. Kodwa inhlambuluko yegazi yenzwa edlozini. Isithunywa siyenza inhlambuluko yegazi. Nomuntu osithunywa ayazi inhlambuluko yegazi. Lo nhlambuluko ke leyo maybe inhlambuluko ekutheni ihlangene kahlahle lenhlambuluko. Ihlangene nomhlatshelo. Ngoba lapho usufaka leligazi uthi uyahlambulula into ethile umuntu kwenzakalani. Kungoba at the same time ngoba kuyigazi it's like a sacrifice or appease to a certain spirit ukuthi yiso lesi spirit ocela sizohlambulula lo muntu yikho kunegazi. Yabona, there are other explanations here. And then kube inhlambuluko yomuthi. Of course umuthi awuhamba wodwa, umuthi uhamba nedlozi, uhamba nomoya othize. Lo nhlambuluko ke le kuthiwa umuntu ahlanjulwe ngalo muthi lo. Kunomoya othize nalapho obuya uphakanyiswa kulo muthi yokuthi akazoklina ngapha. Yeah, so zonke le nhlambuluko they are human based and all spirits are all human spirits based like amadlozi kanjalo kanjalo. Of course, whatever they are going to be doing is isikhathi amanzi azoba khona as an element because ke ezinye izinto umuthi ngeke ukwazi ugeza kodwa kufanele ufake amanzi. And then inhlambuluko ngapha elukhuzana esithunyweni intamba kuqala futhi ihamba phambili indlula zonke izinto amanzi. Not just as an agent yokuthi ibe liquid but as a spiritual agent and the major agent ngoba lamanzi la sube mawesetshenziswa isithunywa sikhona like umuthi oyigazi kunedlozi lana amanzi ahamba nesithunywa yiso lesi sithunywa esihamba nalamanzi where esithunywa then performs this ritual to cleanse. And that's why inhlambuluko yamanzi noma isithunywa inkulu kuneyidlozi ngoba idlozi symbolize a human and a human is subject sometimes to fail. A human is subject sometimes not to be able to do certain things. Ngoba ke isithunywa symbolizes the greater spirit umdala uvenqanga qamata imfihlo. Meaning that now lokho unhlambuluko kwesithunywa we regard it as the higher one. A cleanser that really does a cleansing. Yeah. It's done properly, is cleansing. So ngesikhathi ke na sibene elements like utswayi also serve another purpose kodwa isikhathi esiningi nalo hamba nalamanzi and other spiritual elements at times abanye abantu abanokuzisebenzisa ezihamba ngapha esithunyweni zenziwa kanjalo ke lezo nhlambuluko lezo. That's why it depend if isimo ukuthiwa isimo esihlangane nedlozi nani mhlawumbe izangoma siyabona ke izangoma kuthiwa kuyokuhlanjulwa lapho ngoba into amadlozi akhala ufuna ukuyohlanjululwa or kufunwa ka idlozi kulonhlambuluko le buye ke ngapha esithunyweni thina ke cleanser everything ngoba nalo idlozi liyacleanswa cleanse nokungcola cleanse nemoya emdaka cleanse nani sehluka kanjalo ke but ultimately in hierarchy of course in national cleansing that is ukugeza isizwe it has to be done ngumuntu osithunywa and in this case umuntu ofana njengemboni ngoba umuntu ofana emboni is also a spiritual national guide kuyo guide isizwe mawucleanser ke isizwe ucleanser all impurities imoya emibi ucleanser namadlozi esizwe and ngoba wena uphezulu kwawo amadlozi ngoba isithunywa symbolize umdali. So even national cleansing can't be done isangoma ngoba sangoma ucleansa ngamadlozi akhe. Amadlozi akhe can't be national because amadlozi akhe ngamadlozi akhe. Ahamba afike somewhere akhona amadlozi aphakeme udlula wakhe. Uzongibheka ukuthi cha nasesithunyweni kuyafana phela nani nezithunywa nazo zibuye zehluke ngamandla iqiniso. Umuntu oyimboni ke ngumuntu ombathwe nazi izithunywa zakhe ezikhulu ambathwe nazi izithunywa zezwe. That is why i-cleansing must be done ngumuntu onjalo. And ke if you go back to research as well ubone uzokubona ukuthi vele mandulo kwakunjalo. Mandulo vele kwakunjalo. Yeah. So I hope it answers the question.
Sibonga kakhulu kuyo imboni. Sibonga nakuni mamameli emakhaya. If you feel that you want to hear more of ezizambulo okanye ezimfundiso zemboni on African indigenous spirituality, please do go to our YouTube channel, We African Hidden Voices. Sibonga kakhulu.